If we could rise for the start of the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, I've asked our County Treasurer, Larry Ma, to lead us off.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners for Shawnee County. Today is March 26, 2015. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the Chair of the County Commission, also representing District 2. Joining me today are Commissioner Shelley Bueller, representing District 1.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Bob Archer, representing District 3.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, if we could have the first item, please.
Consent agenda?
Are there any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
There's been a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. Just as a side note, there is an item for industrial revenue bonds. This just sets it for hearing at a later date. But motion by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed? The motion passes 3-0. Next item.
New business A, County Clerk. Number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Vouchers are totaling $576,333.50. The largest, $94,651.66 is with MedTrack for our prescription services. Number 2, $83,063.31 with the Elections Office preparing, I believe, for the move. And then number 3, $78,333.07, and that would be expenses for district courts. So I have no questions. Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the vouchers as presented, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item B, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C-107-2015 with Railroad Pacific for purchase of trash and recycling containers in an amount of $43,533.04.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a solid waste item. And back on our December 22nd, 2014 meeting, the Commission had given approval to enter into or to pursue negotiations with Railroad Pacific regarding a sole source contract with them. The reasoning for that is that we went out for bids back in 2012 for recycling carts, and when we implemented the curbside recycling, and they were awarded the bid at that time. And since then, we've also gone for bids a couple of times for additional trash carts and recycling carts, and they again were the low bidder. What our intent is to establish a branding of our solid waste department and wanting to have a consistent type of container that our customers use throughout the entire county. So that is when the last time we requested to make a purchase of containers, we wanted to continue to establish that branding, I guess, of our container type. So the Commission authorized the go-ahead to go into negotiations with them regarding a 5-year contract, which we've been doing. And essentially what they've offered to do is to keep the base cost that we paid back in 2012 the same. The only fluctuation would be the cost of resin, which resin is the main component that's used to make these containers, and that is like a commodity, I guess, for lack of a better term. And there is an index called the chemical or chem data index that we can track and follow as far as the price of resin going up and down. So the price would be the base cost back in 2012 plus the change, fluctuation up or down in resin cost, plus any fluctuation in freight costs. So that is what we have here before you, and just to illustrate that it can go up and down, this request today for the purchase of 2 truckloads of containers is actually about $4,500 less than the last time we purchased them because the cost of resin has dropped. So I think it's a great deal. We're gonna be keeping the base cost at 2012 rates, and the resin cost is what it is, according to the market. So, so it is with that request that we request approval of the sole source contract and also the authorization to purchase again, 2 truckloads, which is, I think, 972 containers or something like that. Yeah, 972 units from them at this time. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. All right, again, the financial cost of this request right now is $43,533.04, which would come from the solid waste collections operation budget. And again, since it's coming from solid waste, that being an enterprise fund, there are no tax funds used for this purchase.
Tom, I know we've talked about it numerous times, but again, to highlight, this is a Kansas company. They're located in DeSoto. It's a very short distance from Topeka. If there was ever an emergency, they're just a short distance from us.
Right, they have operations in DeSoto. I don't believe their home base is in DeSoto,
The-
but where we get most of our containers come from DeSoto, you're correct.
Are there other discussions or questions for Tom regarding this item? I'll move approval of the request to purchase from Reard Pacific for $43,533.04.
Second.
Does that include the sole source?
Yes,
Okay.
including the sole source. So motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 2, consider request to fill a soon-to-be vacated road maintenance position at a salary, including benefits, of $38,360.57.
Commissioners were just recently notified that one of our road maintenance workers is going to be leaving the county to go work for Mars, actually. So we would like to refill that position. We do have it in our budget. This person is budgeted, so we'd like to refill it. The funding would come from our Public Works road maintenance budget. And if we don't fill it, we'll be short-handed in one of our districts. So it's our request that we be able to refill that position.
Are there any questions regarding this item?
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Number 3, consider awarding bid in an amount of $307,187.90 for construction of the Southwest 77th Street Bridge over Middle Branch Wakarusa River, and authorization and execution of contract C-108-2015 for same.
Commissioners, as mentioned in the memo, this is a Public Works item. As mentioned in the memo, we went out for bids for this project, for the replacement of this structure. We received 3 bids, with Claver Construction of Kingman, Kansas, coming in as the low bidder at $307,187.90. The engineer's estimate was $340,136. We have worked with Claver in the past. They're a very reputable contractor. So it is our recommendation that they be awarded the contract, and the funding for this project come 100% from the current half-cent countywide sales tax. So if there's any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions regarding this item?
Motion to approve the bid and the contract as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes
Thank you.
3-0. Thank you. Next item.
Item C, Health Agency. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-109-2015 with Capper Foundation to provide clinical consultation support for their Health Homes program, with reimbursement from Capper at a retainer of $150 per month and a rate of $150 per hour, not to exceed 2 hours per month.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Health Agency. I do need to make a correction on the explanation. We did not include the retainer amount in the contract. There was some negotiating going back and forth, and so the final contract before you does not include that wording, so I did want to make that clear. This contract matches the contract that we have in place with Family Service and Guidance for the same service as part of the Health Homes program that is managed under the CanCare Medicaid program. Those entities that serve as a health home need to have a physician consultant
And so we have been asked by, again, another community partner to serve as that. So it's with minimal impact on our staff. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
With the retainer not in this contract, will we have a separate contract for the retainer?
There will be no retainer.
Okay.
There will be no retainer.
So on the memorandum where it says that there will be an additional 150 per month retainer, that's,
Correct. And the
Okay.
contract is written that way as well.
Alice, why is this a good contract for Shawnee County?
Well, I think it just shows our willingness to partner with our community partners and help support the healthcare system in the community. You know, the Health Homes program is still a fairly new program, and it's a service to wrap around individuals who need extra supports. And this way we can ensure that those folks that the partners are serving have the medical knowledge and support that they need. So,
Are there any other questions regarding this?
Move approval of the contract.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller. All second, so seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item D, Commission. Number 1, discussion of Willard Bridge.
Commissioners, this is a commission item as requested by Commissioner Bueller. On the fourth Thursday of the month, we will discuss Willard Bridge, and so this is the fourth Thursday. Tom, I understand you have some information for us.
Yes, Tom Block again with Public Works, and I also have Craig Maddox here with Finney and Termseed. He is the principal of the firm and lead designer of the design for this bridge. But as we had mentioned previously, we have requested to have Finney and Termseed go up. You know, typically the inspections, the very detailed and very comprehensive inspections on this bridge were typically done on an annual basis. With what we found out in the last few months, we're intending on scheduling another very comprehensive inspection in a 6-month time frame, so this summer. But there are a couple of spots in this bridge that we're particularly interested in, so we have requested Finney and Termseed to go look at those couple of spots on a monthly basis, just because those are the ones that we feel are the ones of I guess most concerned of on the bridge, and not necessarily the entire bridge as a whole. So so Finney and Termseed has gone out and done their monthly inspection, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So I have a little presentation that we will cover. If I can get going here. As far as what I'm going to talk about today, we're going to go again through our recent efforts over this past month. And then Craig will come up, we'll give an overview of the inspection that this firm has completed, and show some photographs of some things that we are particularly interested in and are watching very closely. And then toward the end, I want to give a review, just so everyone is aware, a project chronology, a review of the project chronology, and so that people can see what we've all done since the very beginning of this, and that we just haven't been floating along. So as far as the recent efforts are concerned, again, we are just continuing on with final design. I know Finney and Termseed is working very diligently and very hard to get us to final design and get completion, to get us off and get the permits rolling and all that. So that is continuing full force. The Shawnee County Sheriff's Office has increased enforcement of the bridge. As far as, I don't know any numbers offhand as far as any violations that they've given, but I know they have stepped up enforcement, in particular trying to get the heavy trucks off the bridge, and that goes hand in hand with the reduction of the weight limits that we did here recently down to 9 tons. Again, as you will see here in a little bit, anything we can do to keep those trucks off, that is really critical, and hopefully our, a letter to the motor carriers, hopefully that has some impact, because it's extremely important that the heavy overloaded vehicles stay off of this bridge. County Councilor Rich Eckert has made personal visits to our neighboring county officials to explain them and get, at least their support in the project, in the replacement of the bridge, which I believe he was quite successful at in obtaining that. And myself and Mr. Flanagan and Mr. Maddox went again and met with Westar Energy to talk about the relocation of their facilities. We're still, it's our desire and our hope that we will attach their facility to our bridge, and I think, I can't say for certain that they have not given 100% agreement with that yet, but I think we're getting there, I guess. And also, we reopened discussions with the property owner on the southwest quadrant of the bridge. That is one of the main property owners that we will have to acquire right away from. And we've also provided them with some quitclaim deeds, with some, he has some joint ownership of that property with some siblings, and he's indicated that he is really the sole person in charge of that property. So just to make sure it's clear and that will get through the title companies, we've asked him to get some quitclaim deeds signed by his siblings to make sure it's clear as we go forward. As far as update on our possibility of getting an advance from KDOT, I spoke with Jerry Younger of KDOT, and he said that the KDOTs really won't be in a position to know where they stand until the current legislative session is over or adjourns. So after that is adjourned, they will know where they stand. So my guess is that it probably won't be until early summer, midsummer, before we really know what their ability is to assist us in that manner is. Also done some investigation in the Tiger Grant. If you all may be aware, Tiger Grant is a grant program offered through the federal government for large in economically important infrastructure projects. According to the U.S. DOT's website, there was another $500 million authorized for these types of projects back in December of 2014. However, the U.S. DOT is not accepting applications yet as of yesterday. So even though the program is, funding is in place for the program, we can't submit anything yet. But in preparation, if we decide that's the direction we want to go, these are very competitive grants to obtain, but in preparation, if we want to go down that path, I've had contact and some communications with the Mid-America Regional Council, or MARC, as they're known, which is basically in the Kansas City metro area. They have been successful in past years in obtaining some Tiger grants, so they have submitted, or they've sent me some of their applications that were successful, and I think even some that weren't successful, but just to give you an idea give us an idea of what we'd be looking at as far as having to, what we'd have to put together to apply and hopefully be successful. With that, I know it was in the news here a couple of weeks ago where Senator Moran was having some discussions with the Secretary of the Transportation for the United States, for U.S. DOT, and that is helpful. After seeing that and seeing that conversation, that may put us in a little bit better position to possibly get a Tiger grant. Some things I don't know yet about the Tiger grant, though. I think we need to keep moving forward. And I don't know when exactly they would award those grants, but hopefully, even if we started a construction, I'm hoping that a Tiger grant could be awarded even during construction or right before construction. I just don't know that answer yet. But and if we do get awarded one, then we have to determine the impacts to the schedule, as far as would it delay getting it started, would it delay getting it done. Those are things we have to figure out that we really don't know yet. Also, I didn't get this on one of my slides, but we had met yesterday with Wildlife and Parks, and I have Roger Wolf here from Wildlife and Parks to discuss. They have an interest in, I think I mentioned this last time, they have an interest in constructing a river access point there at the Willard Bridge and also the Maple Hill Bridge, but the Willard Bridge is because the Kansas River has been designated as a national river trail. So we met with them to see with him and with Mr. Maddox and our staff to see if it would be a possibility of coordinating the two together and trying to see if there's any, I guess, economies of scale. We believe, the four of us believe that it would actually be mutually beneficial and that we could actually save each of us some money, and that some of the work that our contractor will have to do to build the bridge, which would then be later building like the access road into the river, which would then later have to be torn out, that could be built and then kept in place for their access to their river access pad. So we think it would be mutually beneficial, and we think we can coordinate it such that Wildlife and Parks would then essentially individually or separately contract with their engineer, designer, or Finium Turnipseed to get all that done, really at no cost to the county. It'd just be combining forces to get both of our projects done at the same time and save each entity a little bit of money in the process. Now with that, again, the main thing that we've done, one of the main things we've done in this past month is the inspection, the monthly inspection that Finium Turnipseed has conducted. And so with that, I'll bring up Craig Maddox with Finium Turnipseed to go over what their findings were and to give you a little update on some things that we see going off the bridge.
Okay, as Tom said, he asked us to go up and look at the spot areas that were identified by the previous fracture critical inspection and give them another good look at. And we've done that. We did that last Friday. Okay, this is the kind of the driving force of the load ratings. This is the floor beam number 80 at the north end. Okay, as you can see, there's lots of rust in it. It's by the north end. If you're familiar with that bridge, it's the last floor beam before you get on the concrete portion on the north end. Okay, what this picture is showing you, this is from underneath off of a man lift. Is right there is a hole in that floor beam. See that rust hole? That's what you're seeing in that particular picture. This is basically looking to the west a little bit. This is looking down that same floor beam, and what you can't see with the lighting is the fact that right over the center of this frame, this flange necks down a little bit, loses a little bit of section right over the reaction point.
John Gummel, can you maybe get the lights just dim? Thank you.
Again, that's looking to the west. You can see that. So that's what I'm talking. That's a little bit of necking, and you see how much rust there is on that particular picture. Again, this is just kind of showing an overview of just how much pack rust there is in that. Again, looking to the west. This is that center post coming from below. It's kind of like a reaction frame. It helps that floor beam. And this is looking dead on at the floor beam, looking south. Okay, that same area we were looking at with the flange going down. These are this is the web, and this is the stringer that holds the decking on up above. The metal decking on above sits on top of stringers that run parallel to the roadway, and they rest and come reaction to this particular point. And this is where they're carried into the truss on both sides. Okay, this is looking straight at it. And I'm going to put a little bit of scale to you. This is a ruler you see with a foot out there. You see the middle third of that floor beam is like this. It's corroded. We actually, by this particular inspection, took equipment with us and we cleaned a lot of the rust off. I mean, we actually struck it to see just how sound it was. Again, this is just kind of a close-up. What this picture is showing you is this is the first stringer beam coming in along the roadway. This is where the wheels that are the northbound people are at. This is where that's at. And you see how this rust is defined? It kind of abruptly stops right there. It does the same thing on the other side at the other stringer. This is just telling you what kind of stress or loads it's getting in helping with the corrosion. Again, some more just up close showing you how thin the flanges are. This is at the far west end where it hooks into the floor beam actually hooks into the truss that transmits that load to the truss. And this is in engineering terms a real high shear area. In other words, where the web is important, okay? And you notice it's corroded at that point too. There's lots of active corrosion going on. The paint system on the bridge is failing. Okay, it's failed in places, but it's beginning to fail completely. There's other places that we looked at also along the bottom cords there's active corrosion going on. That's just another view of the same thing, giving you a little bit more daylight, showing you the same particular frame. We looked at the other end of the bridge. There's a similar floor beam it's not quite in this bad a shape, but it is corroded in the same manner. Okay, and basically what's causing this is salt coming off the concrete pieces. I mean, over years is laid in here, and it's corroding that. And then heavy loads. Heavy loads are hitting this, and this is where you're coming off the concrete and onto steel, so you're getting an abrupt impact.
So as you can see, those photos are not very pretty at all. And I'll be honest, we feel that those areas that we just looked at need to be looked at more than once a month. So what we are going to request, and hopefully with the commission's approval, what we would like Finney and Term Team to do is actually go out and look at these particular areas each week. And now these, and I want to make sure I'm correct here. These areas that we looked at here are not the parts of the bridge that if they fail, the bridge goes down. However, if these do fail, then we will be able to get a little bit of advance warning in that. Bring the page back up here. If you look at, let's see if we get better. This right here is up on the deck, and this is what's called an expansion joint. If you drive on the deck, you'll see these pieces go together like this as you cross when two sections of the bridge come together. And that expansion joint there is for cold weather and hot weather. So as the cold contracts and the hot makes it expand, that gives it some give so that the decking won't buckle. That's why they put these in here. If one of these gets to a point where it's starting to give way, what will happen is that expansion joint will start to go like that. And that will be a telltale sign that something's going on down below. So what our intent is that we would have Finney and Term Team go look at this each week on a Friday, and then every day have some of our own staff drive to look at these expansion joints to see if there's any rise in the expansion joints, because that will tell us something's going on. And if there is something going on, we'll immediately contact Mr. Maddox to come out and take a look at it. And if it needs to be closed, we will close it immediately. But again, and I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn, but that is not a part of the bridge that is immediately catastrophic. There is some lead time warning. Is that correct? So,
Commissioner Bueller?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. When you go across this part of the bridge, anyway, it makes a little bit of a noise, correct? So I want to make sure the public understands, that has happened. I mean, when you drive across the bridge, you notice these, what are they called, Tom?
expansion joints.
So, and so they make a noise already. So if the public should see something, I mean, they should call you, or I mean, I don't want you to get flooded with phone calls because somebody goes across the bridge and is not familiar with the bridge and realizes that those make a little bit of noise now.
Yeah, I mean, they do make noise.
They do.
I guess, I mean, the thing is that if they start to rise up like that,
Okay.
it'll be I think, I don't know how,
It won't make any more noise.
yeah, it won't make any noise, but,
Okay,
but,
They will lock down tight.
okay.
Right now,
I just can get here to speak.
right now, that finger joint armoring, that finger joint's welded to a tapered piece of steel,
Mhm.
and that finger joint armoring and the decking itself is helping this floor beam right now. That's assisting it, okay? So it's adding to that bending capability.
Mhm.
Now, as that floor beam can't take any more load, it's gonna depend more on that. That's why I say it's gonna bend up those fingers. It's gonna tell us it's gonna be a localized, I don't wanna say collapse, that's not what, it'd be a localized failure. You're gonna see a depression in the decking and the fingers are gonna rotate up. And it's gonna be a ductile failure. Ductile mean it's gonna telegraph to you it's got a problem. It's not gonna be instantaneous. It's not gonna be an abrupt failure, okay?
Okay, that helps. Tom, and Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
may ask
Mr.
another question. Going back up to, the recent, activity, where are we on permit status with the railroad?
Can you
Do you know?
speak to that? Permit status of the railroad? We still have to get the,
We've gotta have 95% plans
Okay,
and a confirmed project that we're gonna do this before we originally met with Union Pacific Railroad in 2009, 2010, and it was, tell us what you're gonna do, and we'll give you final approval when we see what you're going to do to us, okay? And my experience with on the KTA and the Topeka Boulevard and other structures we put over the Kansas River and the Union Pacific Railroad is they'll wanna see final design piers. They wanna know what you're gonna do before they sign off on it. You know, what it looks like on the roadway, fencing, whatever you got. They wanna see pretty much 95% final plans.
okay.
Tom, if I may, are there any remedial actions that the Public Works can take to fix the holes in this, to replace this deterioration?
I don't believe anything as far as the deterioration. There might be something we can do to buffer up, that section. And Craig, again, you might wanna speak to it, but this is what let's see if I can find. My thinking is, you would essentially maybe take like another piece of steel section, and tell me if I'm wrong here, or something, and fit it in here, and then go beyond the length of where the corrosion is, and then weld it to that. But
We've actually opened those discussions to what would happen to make sure we can get it open through construction. We've just started in this, but it's difficult with the truss because it really needs to be cribbed underneath those stringers because there's too much going on here. This is too busy to actually get in and put anything that would help up to hold the stringer because that's where the load's coming from. And if you go out in front of it, you know what I mean, the truss is a thin point, there's nowhere to hook onto it. So we've just started looking at if there's any way we could do something to crib it, or put a temporary support in.
Right.
But right now, it's so corroded and there's so many moving parts, other than trying to figure out how to take the whole thing out and put it back in, which would be very cost prohibitive. This is a bad situation. We can't.
And if I
Easily
understood,
correct.
this is not the fracture critical point. This is a critical point, but not the fracture critical point.
Correct.
So anyway, before we move on from that and get into this next part, are there any other questions? We always have questions at the end, but again, and then I guess to go back and review, what we've done up to this point. It's going to give a review of what has transpired, since basically since basically 2000. You know, in 2000 and 2002, 2004, 2006, we just, you know, did the normal biennial bridge inspections, and this bridge was basically holding stable all throughout those times. In 2006, there was some repair work that needed to be done on the expansion devices, and so in 2007 here, again, we retained Finney and Terpsey to prepare plans and specifications and did repair to those expansion devices. In December of 2007, I believe it was, we had Secretary Miller at the time, that the then Secretary of Transportation for KDOT. Her and some of her staff came over here to these chambers and met with us, and we discussed our desire to try to find some funding through KDOT to maybe assist with this bridge. And then that same month, Councilor Eckert and myself went before the Shawnee County legislative delegation and let them be aware at that time this bridge was like one of the highest priorities as far as Shawnee County was concerned. Again, 2008, another inspection report, it was still holding steady. In September of 2008, that's when the state was looking at implementing the T-Works program. I went before a committee that was taking, I don't know if it was applications or just hearing proposals as far as different projects that people wanted to have included in the T-Works program. I made a presentation for this bridge as well as Carlson Road potentially becoming a state connecting link. In December of 2008, we got permission from the commission to go out for design services, and then in January of 2009, we contracted with Finney and Terpsey to begin design. Back then, again, the bridge was holding steady at that time. In February of 2009, we approved phase 1 of the design for Finney and Terpsey. In March of 2009, again, to prepare the 3-phase design plans for the World Bridge. Sent them notice to proceed with the phase 1 services. And then in July of that year, we sent a letter to KDOT requesting a federal or KDOT project number be assigned. And the reason we did that was because in order to qualify for any federal funds, you have to have a KDOT project number. So we had always been thinking that, again, that we'd like to get ourselves in a position that if federal funds became available, we would be in a position to hopefully acquire them. Unfortunately, since that time, none of them have become available, but we still, with having KDOT put this in as a project, one of their project numbers, we are still eligible. Then in December of that year, we met with KDOT and the railroad and Western Energy to discuss, the bridge and the status of the bridge. I think that was in August, actually. And then in December, we presented 3 different alignments, east, west, or keeping the bridge where it currently is. And those estimates range from $20.8 million up to $21.2 million. And then May of 10, again, another biennial inspection. Again, the bridge is holding steady. Then in September of that year, phase 2 design kicked in. Finney and Terpsey began with that. And then October of that year, we conducted a field check with KDOT. And again, this is a step as far that's required as far as being eligible for federal funds if they become available. And then in December of that year, again, another requirement as far as design is doing a value engineering study. So we contracted with Finney and Terpsey to prepare a value engineering. And essentially what that is we got a group of, it's called the Value Engineering Panel, and there's a group of, I believe it was 3 other essentially bridge experts from around the country. I can't remember where they all came from. Someone separate from Finney and Terpsey that comes and looks at their designs and really critiques it to find any cost savings in the design. And so we went through that process, and I believe there were some it wasn't a ton of things they found, but there were a couple items that I think we believe we implemented. Is that correct, Craig? Yes, there were a couple of things they implemented, so it ended up paying for itself doing that study. Then we sent letters to KDOT and Wildlife and Parks regarding some permitting and threatened species. And then again in February of 11, some more correspondence with KDOT and their environmental services section. In July of 11, approved budget for phase 3 of design services for Finney and turnip seed. So they were on board to do those. And then in March of 12, after some design review, we sent a letter to Finney and turnip seed saying we wanted to make the roadway 36-foot roadway with 8-foot walkway to accommodate bike and pedestrian traffic. In May of 20, KDOT started having local consult meetings regarding different projects for T-Works. We went and presented, again, our request, wanting to make this bridge and potentially Carlson Road a state connecting link to KDOT at the local consult meeting. Just, making them, just still stressing that this is important for the county, and we didn't feel the county had the financial means to do so all on its own. Then in October of 12, again, another biannual bridge report, inspection report, again, still holding steady at that point. And then February of 13, our department developed the budgets for the different sections of roadways, whether it's a 36-foot roadway with no sidewalk up to a 40-foot roadway with 8-foot pedestrian sidewalk and bikeway. Those ranged anywhere from a low of $21.6 million up to a $25.4. We settled in on the 36-foot roadway with the 8-foot pedestrian sidewalk at $24.6. Then in May of 14, another biennial bridge inspection report. This is when we started to just see the first inclination that things were starting to deteriorate a little bit. And then KDOT hired another design engineer to do inspections for all fracture critical bridges in their district, which was H.W. Lochner. They did that in August. They began it in August of last year and completed it again here just a few months ago. That's when we really started seeing the deterioration, and it dropped from, I believe, down to, let's see, well, here it says 49.7. I was thinking that was the one that dropped to 23, but that was in August, okay. At that point, it's 49.7. And then in October, again, another local consult meeting in October of last year, again stating we'd like to see this project be considered for T-Brooks program. And then we had developed, as part of the inspection report, a listing of all the different just potential repair needs, just to repair it and basically keep the bridge still at a low rating, but and still be structurally deficient. Those estimates to do just the repair recommendations were $6.2 million, which I felt and that would be not money well spent, because it wouldn't really gain us. You still have a 60-year-old bridge that was still structurally deficient and still fracture critical. So my input, I know, to the commission is, let's not spend money on that. Let's try to go for full replacement. Then in December of this last year, KDOT took the information that the Lochner firm had developed and they plugged it into what's called the National Bridge Inventory database, and that's what spits out this sufficiency rating, and that is when, in December, when they input that data, is when the 23.7 was first identified. So then, so that's when this all started, in earnest. So in January, here at the end of January, Commissioner Bueller and Tom Flanagan and myself went and met with Senator Moran while he was in town and discussed our bridge concerns, and requested help for anything that he could do on our behalf in trying to find funds for the bridge. And then February, we met with excuse me, Sheriff's Department, talking about how we can go about restricting or enforcing weight limits more efficiently. And then in February, Commissioner Cook, myself, and Mr. Flanagan and Betty Greiner just met just to discuss some funding strategies, funding options, just put our heads together, see if we can come up with anything. And then February 26th is when the commission reduced the weight limits down to 9 tons and authorized the council's office to send letters to the federal and state legislative delegations, as well as Rossville, Silver Lake, and Willard. And then here just a few weeks ago, beginning of March, the commission approved the budget to begin the right-of-way appraisals and acquisition. And then we met with Westar, as I mentioned before, and then the last few weeks we've had a couple of updates. So with that, I'll open it back up for any questions that anyone may have.
Are there any questions from the commission? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you go back a couple of slides, if you would, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
There was a letter on March 26th of 2012, no,
Let's see.
Go
Oh,
forward.
12, okay.
yeah, 2012 to F&T, directing them to modify the current 40-foot roadway to the 36-foot roadway with 8-foot pedestrian sidewalk. Is that a significant change?
Yeah, it was pretty significant, I
Okay.
would say.
And what prompted that change?
Well, typically what we've done, or what we've always done in the past, is we will go over and review designs with commissioners, see if they have any comments, and in that process, knowing that there was trail plan that it was going to connect up to the roadway, it was requested that if it could be accommodated and it wouldn't affect any of the design, could it be accommodated? And if so, could we make it work? And at that time, yes, it could be accommodated. And none of the commission at that time now was not, we don't have design meetings here at the podium.
Mhm.
We discuss it individually and get their comments. So it was requested to make that change, if we can make it accommodated. So we said yes, we would do it if we could. The other commissioners didn't seem opposed, so we went ahead and authorized the letter to fit in term sheet.
If I may,
Commissioner
Mr.
Archer, yes.
Chair. Was there ever a public hearing about the change? Was there ever a resolution
No.
passed by the commission?
well-
Was there ever any public hearing on the change?
No, there was not.
Okay, so it was a major redesign, and from what it looks like, it's about $2.2 million more
Mhm.
in that change. After we had spent a lot of money and gone through the value engineering and all the steps that we took, we made that change without public hearing, nothing on the record.
Yes, and that's correct.
Okay,
However, just so you're aware, that practice, as far as doing designs in that, those have never been, I guess it has never been the process of going through design. For instance, we're going through the L Freight building right now. That's never been, design changes and things like that have never been discussed at this podium. The health center, the medical facility in California, when that went through design, any design changes are not brought to this podium. So I guess, so to answer your question, you're right, it was not, but it's not, never has been the practice.
Or were those examples, did they add up to $2.2 million?
I don't know.
If I may, I've looked at the regional trail system map on several occasions and have driven up Northwest Carlson Road, went over the bridge, and for the life of me, I don't see how we get to the point of how that connects into any trail system I'm seeing. And I don't want to belabor the point. I don't think that's what we're here today to do. But what I would ask is that we do have a discussion on the record as far as the design to look at how it would work in the trail system and make a final decision on what the design should be. Craig, if we went back, and this is totally hypothetical, if we went back to the 40-foot roadway, would that delay construction of the bridge and letting contracts at this point? I know you worked on it for quite a while on the assumption that it would be a 40-foot roadway. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
I can tell you we archived a lot of that,
okay.
but we also, there are two, and it's an apple and orange, the two designs. So
Okay.
we can salvage some of what we had before, yes. Will it affect the schedule? I can't tell you that for any more certainty than I tell you what the stock market's gonna close tonight. I can tell you from what I've seen and in this bridge and what I've told other people is, we will make every effort to get this project out in December if we can. If we can, it may slip 30 days, okay? It may slip 60 days. I can't tell you that. But we will make an effort. We will make an effort to get this to bid when we need to get it to bid.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I don't want to take up any more time, but I would respectfully ask that we do have a hearing to look at the design of the bridge and whether the $2.2 million for the pedestrian path really does fit in with the regional trail system, because I've got the map here, and trust me, there's no way it does. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
One other thing,
Tom,
just to
Tom,
point
I
out, Okay.
I have just a question about follow up on some of Commissioner Archer's questions. Previously, on March the 12th, or it may have been March the 2nd, it escapes me. I recall you talking at the podium that when you designed the Northwest 43rd Street Bridge, you, as a professional engineer, decided to add pedestrian crossing to the Northwest 43rd Street Bridge, correct?
yes, at the request of a commissioner at that time, and at the time, the other two didn't have an issue.
Okay.
And no, to answer your question, was it brought here? No, it was not.
Okay. And when the Southwest 45th Street renovations were taking place, there was accommodations that were made to enable it to become part of a connecting trail from Landon to Lake Shawnee.
Yes, originally it had been designed as just a 5-foot sidewalk, knowing that we thought it would be beneficial for the community to have the Landon Trail, which connects to the Shunga Trail up by Crestview Park, or well, up north. In order, we thought it'd be beneficial to get the trail to the lake, and so we widened that from 5 to 8 feet to make it a multi-use pathway.
And that, that increase some of the cost for that project as well.
Yes, it did.
And so we could probably do this ad nauseum, that there have been examples in every district across the county where in design, your office makes decisions that do have a financial impact that may never reach the podium for discussion.
That's possible, yes.
And I know that in the past, I've heard comments made that we hire professionals to do professional jobs, and that's your job as a professional engineer. I may be mistaken if that's not a comment that's been made by prior commissions.
It has been.
So, at this point, though, if we were to, and again, just to follow up again on Commissioner Archer's comments about a public hearing on the pedestrian crossing. Mr. Maddox, if we were to have that public hearing next Thursday to give adequate notice to the public, so if anyone wanted to be present, that's April the 2nd. If the commission at that point directed that the pedestrian crossing were to be removed, it's undeterminate what the impact of that decision would be. Is that
Well, I know the impact on the design will be.
and I think that's what we need to know. How will this impact our reconstruction of?
It's gonna cost me time and man hours, and we will throw people at it to try to stay on schedule. I think there's me as your engineer, okay, is saying that the structure's in distress. It's not gonna get any better, it's gonna get worse. We can't keep trucks off of it. Okay? So we need to do whatever we're gonna do as quickly as possible. You have an opportunity now where KDOT's taking projects away, and this is a good letting environment. So my cost estimates may be high. We will put more people on, we will have to work more. It will cost me time and man hours and money. But I looked at what we archived, and I think we may slip 30 days, but I think we can possibly make it.
Now,
But I need a decision as quickly as possible.
and also to make sure that I understood your prior comment to a question that Commissioner Bueller asked. Right now, one of the major hurdles that we have facing us outside of funding, and money's always a hurdle, is the railroad.
Yes.
And the railroad will not give their final approval until we have completed 95% of the plans.
We will have to throw resources to get Unit 1, the unit that jumps the railroad. We'll have to get those details up front and get them out first. They'll have to be moved to the front of the line so we can get that permit into the process.
And how long would it take for you to be able to get to that point?
30 days.
So, and if we delay, then it's gonna be 60 days.
Maybe 30 to 45 days. If you give me a decision with what we have archived, we can maybe bring stuff back. I mean, I don't know for certain. Don't hold me to this as gospel.
And I appreciate that, but at the same time, I think that this is an item that constitutes 10% or approximately 10% of the overall cost of the bridge. This is a significant impact financially. But we also have competing interests of looking at the long-range planning of Shawnee County. We talked about this being a 75 or 100-year bridge. 100 years ago, Gage Park was in the country. 50 years ago, Westridge Mall was in the country. 25 years ago, Urish was in the country. We keep spreading, and the urban sprawl will continue. And I think that we have to, as a county commission, we have to keep an eye on not what just is in front of us today, but what are the long-range impacts? And is it not conceivable that our trails will expand, that we will have this incorporated in to an overall trail plan? I know that's one of the things that John Knight had at the top of his list of the master plan being the trails were the #1 impacted and promoted item among the public, is the public trails and use of the trails. And we've been adhering to the master plan, but at the same time, with all those considerations, we have to know what is the impact and delay, and are we compromising public safety? Cost and trails public safety overruns all of that. So,
Mr. Chairman, the questions I am getting from the public are two questions. Is the bridge safe? Can my family still go over this bridge? Number two, have we secured funding? Those are the two main questions that I am being answered or asked. I have not received maybe 2 or 3 emails about this potential of the walkway or bike pedestrian path. I am not getting those kinds of questions. The questions I am getting in my part of the county are, is it safe? Have we secured funding? Are we going forward? Are we going there? So I guess, as a commissioner, we meet regularly with all our department directors, and we give input. Like Commissioner Cook said, I think of the county as a whole, and in the next 100 years, yes, I think we will have the complete street design in a lot of our areas. That means multi-modes of transportation. I think we are spending some precious time, and I know there's some time that has been spent with Public Works Department this past week in preparing this schedule of events. We're wasting precious time if we do not stay focused and focus on solutions, which is making sure the bridge is safe to pass over and finding the funding. 95% plans need to be completed for Union Pacific. I think we've heard that that's a 6 to 9 month approval process. So I don't understand this diversion. I just don't understand it, so anyway.
Commissioner Archer?
And I appreciate that. I don't see $2.2 million as a diversion. And, in 100 years, there may be trails all over, but the map that we've got today that we're looking at, it couldn't justify the expenditure, in my opinion. And that's why I think we need to have a public discussion of the utility and the desirability of having the $2.2 million pedestrian path over the bridge. So,
Commissioner Archer, I might ask, given the discussion that we've had already, March the 2nd, March the 12th, we went into a deep discussion about bridge design and bridge alignment. The discussion that we've had today, is there more? I guess what are we anticipating to have?
well, I think the public needs to take a look at the map and say, how does that pedestrian path fit in with the regional trail system map that we've got? And that would be my suggestion, to have Karen Hiller come and talk to us about bikeways and anybody else that has an interest in the pedestrian pathway that we've talked about.
And so,
I guess I just don't like that we made a significant change and we've really never talked to the public about it. That's my main concern. It would be easy to say, let's just go ahead and do this. Let's don't take public comment and put it off on 3 or 4 commissions from now to be concerned about other bridges that may need to be addressed. So That's my purpose.
And I
in this.
appreciate that.
Okay.
I think that transparency is an inherent, and it's a important integral part of being a county commissioner, is
Right.
transparency to all, not just the constituent of your district, but to the whole county.
Exactly.
On the 12th, we did have members of the Historical Association, the Potawatomi, the Tribal Association.
Citizen Potawatomi.
Citizen Potawatomi was here, and so again,
Well-
I'm not opposed to
Oh,
having the
well-
public discussion. I just don't know what more we're going to have from it that we haven't already received, unless that we are anticipating a outcry from the public demanding that we not invest.
And I asked respectfully
Yeah.
for further comment on it. You're the chair, and I'll respect and defer to you how you want to go forward. Public safety, as you've said, is the most important thing. And if it delays the bridge being rebuilt, then let's move forward. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to look at the trail map system that's being proposed and to discuss it in an open forum. Simple as that.
Tom and Craig, I do have a question she is receiving. Is the bridge safe?
For my family to cross. As our county engineer and as our retained expert in this bridge, is the bridge safe to cross?
At this point, I'd say yes, otherwise we have it closed. But with that said, I will say there is some concern, and that's why we want to have them start looking at it on a weekly basis. Because we want to know right away, if we need to close it, we need to know that right away, and we will close it right away. So, yes, qualified. I mean,
And then have we secured funding? I know that we did discuss extensively our funding sources, whether they're through bonds, whether they're through state assistance. And today we've discussed federal grants, and at this point, it sounds like it's on us. We're waiting to hear from the Department of Transportation. We're waiting to hear, to see whether or not there would be federal qualified funds through the Tiger Grant that might make themselves available. But at this point, it's on Shawnee County.
right, and I think, we need to just continue forward with design, whichever direction we end up going. And I think come summertime is when we will start to know some much clearer picture as far as funding strategy. Hopefully by that time, KDOT will have a better picture of where, if they can assist at all. Hopefully by that time, if we decide to pursue a Tiger Grant, maybe, I'm not sure when those applications will be awarded though, but to me, again, it goes back, to me, the key, as I mentioned here a couple meetings ago, is if we can get, say, a $10 million advance from KDOT and the requested amount for bridges in the next sales tax, if we can get the $32.5 million, those two, to me, are key. If we can get those two, I am confident we can figure out a way to get this thing financed, in my opinion. But
And I should add Wabunsee County as well. It's not
Correct.
just on Shawnee County.
right,
But Wabunsee County does have an interest in the bridge as well. And I was negligent in not mentioning our county partner.
but and one other thing, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past. I don't believe I have. Regarding Carlson Road is a major collector road, designated as a major collector, and in our current design standards, if that road ever gets reconstructed, which in the next 100 years I anticipate that it will be reconstructed, our current design standards require sidewalks to be placed on major collector roads. So that's just, and maybe I was remiss in even, I'll take full responsibility for it in the initial 40-foot design. I should have said, look, this is a major collector. We're gonna end up sidewalks sometime in the future. And so I'll take full responsibility for the late change, in authorizing it. I should have been thinking more ahead of time.
And then, Craig, this is a question maybe that you would be able to answer. If we hold a public hearing on the 2nd of April, in this 1 week delay, is there any impact to your design team?
Well, I'll throttle the design team off temporarily and go on hold until we're sure. I don't want to burn man hours and time
No.
Right.
for something
It's money too.
yeah, it's so, I mean, we can work, there's things we can work on. We just stay away from this area for a little bit.
Commissioner Bueller, I'd like for your input as to a public hearing.
I think
On
if
the
we're,
pedestrian
if we're
walkway.
going down this slippery slope of the commission being involved in design, then the commission needs to expect then, when we design Parks and Recreation projects, and when we design improvements at the Expo Center, and when we have engineers design anything else, that then that's gonna be a public discussion. We have not operated like that in the past. We have hired trusted people in our departments to make those decisions. We have the final decision when it comes to the contract, and we let bids. We do have a say, we do have a vote when it comes to this table as a final contract and putting out the bids. And I would say if there is someone who doesn't support that design standard, then you have that opportunity to vote against it. But I again think that we are wasting time and energy on something that, in the long run, looking at design and looking at our community as a whole. Even we've got the MTPO looking at pedestrian plans, bike plans. That's one issue that I think needs to be worked on. Our MTPO dealing with transportation doesn't go countywide. It was shrunk, and now it's just around a boundary with around Topeka, and we don't have conversations about transportation issues for the county as a whole. It's a whole other topic, but I think we need to keep moving forward in the direction that our staff has mentioned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do hope we have public hearings on design. For example, when we get ready to build the park with the aquatic center in the southwest, I hope we have a lot of discussion on design. We should have discussion on designs that are going to impact our citizens in Shawnee County. So if we haven't done that in the past, I hope we'll do it from here on out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I think that we would have to have those for the extension or Expo Center. We're looking at major renovations to the Expo Center. I know that in the past 2 years that Commissioner Archer, you and I have served on the commission, generally what's presented to us is the final design. And what the commission is approving is the final design, as opposed to being involved in the day-to-day micro decisions that go into the designs. And the commission has had, generally in the past, the broad sweeping power of approval of the final project, but leaving it to our engineers, leaving it to our department heads to make the day-to-day smaller decisions. And I think that that's an important component of hiring good department heads, hiring good engineers, and trusting them that the final product, but always having the ability to look at the final plan. This design change is something that it did occur 2 years ago to the day.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
So 3 years ago to the day, this was a design change that took place. I'm reluctant to schedule it for a public hearing. I think that, we've already received all the information that we would have already received. I'm reluctant to have, there's anything that would be presented that would sway me one way or the other. Commissioner Bueller, if you want to have the public hearing, I will set it. But At this time, I do not see a reason for having a public hearing, but.
And
think-
I respect your decision, Mr. Chair.
But I think that should send a clear message to our department heads, to our engineers, that if we're going to be taking drastic, costly, multi-million-dollar decisions, this should be approved with public knowledge and public consent, and not something that's resting solely on your heads. That's not, the public has a right to know how their tax dollars are being spent. There needs to be public discourse and public conversations. And so I think that it does signal that we are taking a more active role as a commission. Tom?
I just do want to comment. Remember, this was not done solely. This was discussed with the commission. It just was not discussed at the podium. So I just want to make sure that's clear. The way that was said, the way I interpreted it was like we just made this decision and went. I want to make sure that was clear. That was not what happened.
I understand. Is there any other discussion on the Willard Bridge at this time?
No, other than I'll follow up with, and design standards that, again, pausing and looking at the whole community and what we are going to hopefully have opportunities in the future. I would say that I hope that from this point forward that we have a commission that is willing to work together, to have conversations that are civil, and to work together to solve this problem. We have to work together. Tom, we need to know from you what we can do, but we have got to work together to figure out and solve and replace the Willard Bridge.
And I might just take a moment. Again, this is a comment that's been made multiple times in multiple different areas. Shawnee County, you've elected 3 people who represent 180+ thousand people, managing a budget of more than $110 million. And we can't talk to each other but for right here. You have 3 captains of a ship that can only have a public conversation here. And sometimes that public conversation becomes heated, impassioned, and that doesn't mean that we have a lack of respect for each other. It means that we are very committed to our positions, and we believe what represents best for Shawnee County. And I think each one of us is not looking out for ourselves, but looking out for the best of Shawnee County. And making decisions that affect our constituents, but also the whole county. And I agree that, it's very difficult to not have those discussions when it would be much easier to be able to walk the 5 or 10 feet from my office to ask Commissioner Archer or Commissioner Bueller, what do you think? What did you see? What did you hear? And it's very difficult not to be able to do that but for here. But those are the rules that we live under. Commissioner Archer?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I agree. It is difficult to do. We are working together. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a spirited discussion and debate on important issues to our community. So we're working together. We're going to get this thing done. There's no question about it. It's going to be done right. It's going to last 100 years, and I think that's. I agree. We're working together, but to say that we don't have respect and going together, I disagree with that, and I think debate and discussion when we can't have it behind closed doors and have to have it here is a good thing. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Madam Clerk, if we can have the next item, please.
Administrative communications?
Is there any department heads or public wanting to speak on any issue?
Good morning again, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Health Agency, and I am sharing this information with you on behalf of Allison Alejos, who couldn't be here today. This is a reminder that the Board of Health meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, April 2nd, immediately following this commission meeting. During this time, the County Health Officer, Dr. Pizzino, is going to be talking about the county health rankings that were just released yesterday. And then Allison will be sharing with you for the first time the Community Health Improvement Plan that has been developed. That health improvement plan has been being developed over the last year with many individuals and organizations in our community coming together to try to address ways to improve the health of the residents of Shawnee County. And we encourage all those interested in learning about this to come to that meeting, which will follow the commission meeting,
Again, the
April
date?
2nd.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wanting to speak for Administrative Communications? Commissioner Bueller, do you have any?
I do not, thank you.
Commissioner Archer?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I do have a couple. The first is this Saturday from 6 to 11 a.m. at the Sunrise Optimist North at 720 Northwest 50th Street. The Soldier Township Fire Department is having their annual pancake feed. This is a fundraiser for the Soldier Township Fire Department. It's very important for them. The cost is $5 for all the pancakes that you can eat. Immediately following that, I'll be attending the USA Wrestling Kansas Kids Championship at the Landon Expo Center, where I'll be giving the welcoming remarks. This is an event that Topeka has hosted for over 25 years, and all the hotels are booked. Expect to see lots of kids and families in Topeka. This is a economic impact of registered of $1.5 million all told to the restaurants, retailers, hotelers, and the impact of the Expo Center of Shawnee County. And we anticipate having 1,453 wrestlers across the state competing from ages 8 through 17. And finally, also on Saturday from 10 to noon and then from 1 to 3, there's the Youth Baseball Softball Clinic. This is occurring at the Dornwood Park, and it's free of charge for children 3 to 14. An opportunity to sign up for leagues, get to know players and coaches. Lunch is provided. You can also learn about Operation Recatch. Operation Recatch is a great program within the community. If you have generally used baseball equipment, gloves, bats, balls, pitching machines, you may donate that equipment and it'll be used for kids that maybe would not have the opportunity or ability to pay for a baseball bat or a glove. Not everybody has the ability to go out and purchase brand new equipment, but this makes sure that every kid who plays baseball or softball in Shawnee County has equipment to use. It's a great program, and learning in the skill building exercises and basic lessons of the game. And again, that is March the 28th from 10 to noon and 1 to 3 at Dornwood, which is Southeast 25th and Southeast Highland Avenue, directly behind Highland Park High School, behind the the East Walmart facility. That's the administrative communications I have for today. Madam Clerk, next item.
Executive session?
I don't see a need for one today. We are adjourned.